Don't be scared. This cute little ghost is easy to draw and I'm going to show you how. Hello friends! In this tutorial, we're going to draw a really simple illustration of a cute floating ghost. Let's jump right in. I've got my canvas size set to 3000 pixels square at 300 dpi, and we're going to start with a pencil sketch first. I'm using an extra large version of the 6B pencil brush, and I'll link to a video showing exactly how I altered this brush. The shape of the ghost will be a kind of bell shape like this, but instead of drawing it straight, we want to make it feel more dynamic, so start with a slightly curved line. Now draw the bell shape around the curved line. Add 2 elongated curved shapes for the hands, and we're going to have our little ghost hold a candy bucket. Even though the ghost is curved, the bucket will be straight, so I'm just going to draw a line here to use as my guide. Once you've drawn your handle, draw an oval for the top of the bucket, and then a circular shape for the body of the bucket. And we can add a simple jack-o'-lantern face as well. For the face of the ghost, we just need 2 crescent shapes for the eyes and another one for the mouth. Then we can dial up the cute factor with a couple rosy cheeks. Now the sketch is done, let's add some color. First, change the background color to a nice dark gray. With the dry ink brush, outline the ghost in white, then fill the shape. When you try to fill the shape, if the color fills the entire canvas, just double check to make sure there are no open areas in your shape. If there are, close those areas and try again. With this layer selected, tap Mask to create a layer mask, which will appear right above. 2 important things to note here. When you turn on a layer mask, the swatch color will automatically switch to black, and the layer mask is highlighted in a darker blue. If for some reason there's a different color selected here, make sure to change it to pure black. The hex code should be 6 zeros. Also, if the layer mask is not highlighted, just tap on it so it changes to the darker blue. Now we're going to use the layer mask to give our ghost a transparent look without altering the original layer. Choose the noise brush, and starting from the bottom, erase some of the white with this grainy texture. As you can see, the sketch below is starting to emerge. Now, although I said erase, we're not actually erasing anything because we're working on that layer mask. If I turn off the mask layer, you can see that the original shape is still fully intact. Now focus on the bottom and center parts of the ghost and leave the top and edges more solid to give the illusion of a slight glow. Create a new layer above, switch to the monoline brush, and draw the hands. Since the ghost is white, it's easier to draw in black so that you can see what you're doing. Make the hands a little longer than you need them to be, then fill the shapes. Switch the color to white, tap on the layer to turn on Alpha Lock, then tap again and hit Fill Layer. Now let's blend the hands in using the same layer mask technique. Make sure the hands layer is selected, tap Mask. Using the noise brush, start removing some of those solid areas. We made the hands longer than necessary so that we can make this a nice gradual transition. Again, we're going to leave the top and edges more solid, and this time it's to help create some separation from the ghost's body. Now create a new layer between the hands layers and the body layers. Using the monoline brush in black, draw the handle of the candy bucket. If you find that the hands are a little too transparent, you can go back to the layer mask for the hands, and instead of using black to mask, you're going to use pure white to unmask some areas. And by the way, the hex code for pure white should be 6Fs. So on that mask layer, you're going to use the noise brush in that white to restore some areas. And this is the beauty of working on a layer mask. No changes are permanent. You have lots of flexibility to change and tweak things as you go along. Okay, I think that looks a little better, so back to our candy bucket. Switch back to the monoline brush in black, and we're going to change the color later. Create a new layer above the handle, draw an oval, and if you keep your pencil down and hold, you'll activate the Quick Shape feature. If you want to adjust the shape, you can tap here where it says Edit Shape, and then you can use these blue points to stretch or reshape it however you like. Then fill the shape and reduce the opacity. Create a new layer above and draw an arc from one end of the oval to the other. Again, you can hold your pencil down to activate Quick Shape, which will give you a nice clean arc. Draw another arc on top to close that shape, and make sure it overlaps the oval you drew earlier. Fill the shape, and now you can change it to an orange color you like. Go back to the oval layer and turn the opacity back up to 100%. Now this is the inside of the bucket, so choose a darker orange for this area. Now let's add some shading to give the bucket a little more dimension. Create a new layer above the oval and make it a clipping mask. Choose an even darker orange and add a little shading to the inside edge. I'm using the noise brush for this. You can do this for the outside of the bucket as well. Add a new layer above that shape and make it a clipping mask. Add a little shading to the bottom right of the bucket in a darker orange. Now drag the sketch layer above so that we can see our reference. Now you'll notice that sometimes when you're working with clipping masks, if you drag a layer above a clipping mask, it might automatically become a clipping mask as well. That's no problem, you can just uncheck clipping mask to turn that off. Reduce the opacity on the sketch layer, and we're going to work on a layer above the sketch. Now we can draw the jack-o'-lantern face in black using the monoline brush. And you can use the monoline brush eraser to remove little sections for the teeth. Move the sketch layer up and out of the way again. Because I like to keep my layers nice and organized, I'm going to select all the candy bucket layers, group them, and name that group. Aside from keeping them organized, grouping these layers in this way also makes it easier to move the bucket around if you need to. Now let's move on to the face. If the sketch layer isn't visible, turn it back on or drag it to the top so you can use it as a reference. Create a new layer above all the others, and we're going to use the technical pen because it has a slight taper, which will help with drawing the eyes and mouth. Starting from the outer edge, draw an arc for the eye and apply a little pressure as you move towards the end so that the line gets wider. Repeat this for the second eye and for the mouth as well. You can tilt the arc and add a little line to the end to give the mouth a cute crooked smile. Create a new layer, and now let's switch to the soft brush and choose a medium pink. You don't want something too light or too dark. I've got the brush size at about 5%, and I'm going to add a little color to the cheeks. Now our ghost is supposed to be translucent, so reduce the opacity a tiny bit so that the color isn't too strong. Turn off the sketch layer, and lastly, let's add a little shadow below to make it look like our ghost is floating. Choose a gray that's darker than the background color. With the monoline brush, draw an oval on a new layer, then fill the shape. Go to the Adjustments menu and select Gaussian Blur. Then drag your pencil to the right to adjust the amount of blur. I'm going to stop at about 13 or 14%. And that's it. There's our cute little ghost. One thing to keep in mind is that the transparency is even more effective if the ghost is in front of something. So you can add objects to the background or even add another ghost to make the illustration more playful and fun. If you decide to try this tutorial and share it on Instagram, be sure to tag me in the image so I can see your art and repost it. Speaking of which, here are a few artists who did a great job of recreating the pumpkin tutorial I shared last week. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.